All please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. See? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I feel like we're going to have a great meeting just for that. And we will have a great meeting. We're now back in open session after being in closed session. No action was taken, obviously, then. We have no discipline this evening. Yes. Maybe. And then, so that brings us to our consent agenda. And if I'm not mistaken, we will have a change to the consent agenda. Meaning, look, I can't wait to see this. What we're going to do is we're going to go back into closed session after this meeting. We probably won't come back into open session. And we're going to go back into closed session after this meeting. No action will be taken at that time. That's the only thing I think is the change to the agenda. Would I have a motion for that?
I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Eason?
Yes.
Mr. Terry?
Yes.
Dr. Park?
Yes.
Dr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Schrader?
Yes.
Ms. Fowler?
Yes.
Dr. Ashton?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. What brings us to public comments?
Marita Kaiser?
Hello, Dr. Geddes and Board of Education. I'm Marita Kaiser, and I'm a teacher at Southwest, pre-K teacher. Over break, I watched a television show called Steve Hartman, The Gift, Kindness Goes Viral, and it examined how one simple act of kindness can create a ripple effect. It featured many people and how they make a difference in the lives of others, paying it forward, so to speak. And one example was a little girl that went into a nursing home with her mom, and she asked, what do you guys miss? And they said, soft Kleenex, Vienna sausages. And the little girl made it happen for them. Another lady cuts haircuts on the street corner. One lady had been adopted, and she was adopting a child herself. She opened up a foster's closet, went into a courtroom on the day of adoptions and said, all your costs are covered. And that made me think of a little girl in my class. This little girl. She is being adopted along with her 3 siblings, and I thought, what a financial burden this must be for her adoptive parent. And that parent is a teacher in our district. So initially, I wanted to appeal for a Jean Day to raise some funds for this family that's doing this amazing thing. And then I thought that might set a precedent. And but then I thought, you know what better precedent to set than to being kind to people in our district? A lot of times, there's a lot of needs in our district. It would be different than donating a day. It would be offering a financial resource for these people. I hear a lot of people saying that their employers don't care about them and that there's no compassion where they work. And this would be a great way for District 118 to show caring and compassion for their employees. I was wondering about perhaps setting up a bi-monthly Jean Day where employees would pay $2 to wear jeans. And then this money would go toward families of our employees that are in need. Could be something like a fire, transportation, sick child, sick family member, parents that are aging that they need to go see. Any one of those things, just where we show some compassion for our coworkers. They could fill out an application where they would tell as much as they chose to tell because of confidentiality issues. We could form a committee that evaluated the applications. I know Meyer has to donate so much every month, and you fill out a grant application, they review the applications and say, these are the 2 organizations we can help this month. And we could do something like that. And when I mentioned and got the okay for this family to be shared, that mom said, I want to be on that committee if you're able to pass this. We were thinking perhaps we could call it the District 118 Casual Compassion Days. I know some of you aren't big fans of jeans. But
I blessed the whole thing.
But online teacher platforms seem to indicate that jeans aren't really an issue in this day and age. They're just happy people are showing up to work. And in some districts that are very affluent, Jean Days have always been like a Wednesday and a Friday, casual on Friday, more dressy on Wednesdays. So I would just hope that you would consider this, maybe a bi-monthly day to help our district, the employees in our district with challenges that they face. In this time in our culture, we really need to show some caring and compassion for people. And
Can I piggyback?
one way
with
to
you?
do it.
So she did come to present this to us yesterday, and I was like, I love it. And then there's a board meeting tomorrow. I was like, you're coming to the board meeting. So absolutely, we're gonna. But then I said, okay, but that's your baby to rock. We're gonna form a committee. You're gonna get some staff on it, and just like we do the sick bank, and then you guys will analyze the situation. We're gonna donate. The board has already given us a funding mechanism that we can put this money in because we have our
That's
fund. So the money can go there. So we're gonna have a committee. Rita Kaiser's gonna I want to say Miss Kaiser's going to head that, and we're gonna come together. Miss Reese, God bless you for adopting these 4 babies. We just love you for it. That is one of our own teachers who is actually adopting this Vermilion County family. And so absolutely we want to support you in whatever way. And we have, and I've said this so many times, we have so many of these stories. Let's come together as a family and support one another. And we'll use the funding mechanism that we've established to do so. So thank you for going back and getting her permission to show the picture. We will get with you to establish your committee and figure out how District 118 staff, we're going to run that. But I did not want that to be done. I wanted you, because you came up with such a phenomenal idea, I wanted to celebrate you here at the Board of Education and tell you thank you for your heart. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm getting ready. I got cash, I got a check, and I got a card. I got a feeling all 3
We'll
are.
take all
Yeah,
that.
I think all 3 are going
I
to
got
go.
you covered.
So I know how this works here. That's a great idea. Thank
I'd
you
like
very
to be
much.
on that committee.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be room.
Yeah, I'd like to be on that committee.
Mo has to go to work now, so she's on the flower committee so she's heading out. So I promise to get her in and get her out. Keish.
Lori Wood.
Master Gardner, that's right.
I think
Future problem solvers,
Problem solvers.
come on.
FPS, front and center. We know you're not shy.
Yes, we know that.
We're just gonna use this as like a reference because.
Come on, you guys
You guys good?
Some of us have. Which mic is on?
It's not a mic for sound, it's gonna just collect it for the internet,
Yeah,
so.
so you don't have to speak. It'll get you.
Trust me, Isaiah, you can
There we
speak.
go.
This one's on so that it can be broadcast.
Okay.
Is there a green light on?
Yes.
That's mine.
Are you ready?
Hello and welcome to our Future Problem Solvers presentation on why we should go to internationals. So let's start with the obvious. What is FPS?
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Addison O'Miller. Sorry. This is Colt
Isaiah Easton.
David Estes.
the third.
And the people giving out candy that have not come across the board, who? I didn't say.
I'm Cole Montel. I'm Abigail Rice.
And I think Miss Carrie wants some candy.
I wanted to see what they were giving out.
Look, I'm handing back the candy.
We're listening.
Go ahead, Ben.
Go right.
So FPS teaches students to use critical thinking skills and solve problems on the local and global scale. We try to teach a 6-step problem-solving process.
You don't have to list it.
Okay, I won't be listing that. So this is a picture of this year's team. It's pretty cool.
Project name.
And then our project name is Project Lens. It stands for locally elevating our neighborhood and schools.
So this year we chose to address community and school image as our area of concern, and that's because there's a lot of, especially here in District 118, there's a lot of negative reputation surrounding our schools, and there's not really a good reason for that because we have plenty of things going on that are good, but people choose to talk about the negative things because people like to be negative. So our focuses are on our image specifically, and also how rural schools are negatively affected in the national teacher crisis.
So, according to the Illinois Board of Education, before the start of the 2022-2023 school year, there were 5,300 teacher openings statewide. This is 15 times more than the number of teachers we have here in the district.
So this year's UP statement, UP stands for underlying problem. It's one of our aspects to the competition that we do. Our UP statement is, since the national teacher shortage is exacerbated in our community due to misconceptions surrounding our rural community, how might we improve public perception of our neighboring schools in Vermilion County? So that is basically what our project is doing.
So, what are the misconceptions surrounding our community and schools? So, people commonly associate rural areas with low pay and for all of the staff in it. But actually, Danville pays more than most cities do. People assume that we don't have as many opportunities in Danville. Well, that's obviously not true. And our county has such a rich artistic history that members of the community love to participate in. Our music program, like we're having Midwest Classic this weekend. So, yeah. So one way we're trying to show off our outstanding students and staff is with the Best of the Best Award, or BOB. Every week we select 2 staff members and 2 students to receive the Best of the Best Award. They receive a certificate, a Flamazing Flamingo Award, and a treat. I think the treat is their favorite part. We also make sure to ask staff to honor the students that they see as making the biggest impact or being the best in their class. And it's just a super easy way to show our appreciation. These are quite a few pictures of us. Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm reorienting, okay. Okay. So on the top row, from my left to right, we have one student who received a BOB Award. Her name is Lily Brown. And then the other photo on the top is a science teacher named Miss Flanagan. Personally, I love Miss Flanagan, and I'm really happy to see her getting recognized like that. On the bottom, we have Jillian Potts. In the middle, in the bottom, we have one of our newest teachers, Miss Uhas. And then the final picture is a picture of us celebrating Principal Week?
We were just celebrating the deans.
We were celebrating the deans. So another thing we wanted to recognize in our community is the Retired Teachers Association. So VCRTA stands for Vermilion County Retired Teachers Association. And we held a luncheon for them in December to just honor them and the service they've put in our community, and they continue to, because that's where most of our subs come from. We catered in a meal and brought the madrigal singers in to play for them, plus the cello choir. We spared no expense. This is various pictures of the luncheon. The top one on the right is all of us posing on the stairs. And actually, we're really grateful to the Hegler Mansion for letting us use their space. It's absolutely gorgeous in there. And they really didn't have to, but they did.
It's especially pretty when it's decorated for Christmas.
Yes. Yes.
I love Christmas, and that was just a great way to. It was amazing. I will. Yeah.
It's my turn to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Stop stealing
I-
my spotlight. You'll get your turn later. Okay.
They're not.
So
shy.
why did we do this? I already touched on this a little bit, but they're a huge provider of scholarships, grants, and substitute teachers all over our county, because it's the whole Vermilion County Retired Teachers Association. And we wanted to thank them for everything they do for us.
Okay, so these are a few pictures of the various other things that we've done for our project. We did a few trees for Festival of Trees. We did a Principals Week for the principals, like at the beginning of the year. This is one of our first Bob Award events. We went out and celebrated all the principals because they do have an extremely hard job, especially at the beginning of the year. So we just wanted to make sure that they knew that we appreciated them. Also in the bottom right, there's a picture of, we set out snacks for the teachers for Parent-Teacher Conference Week, because during parent-teacher conferences, the teachers don't really get to leave the building until very late. So we just wanted to make sure that they felt that we wanted to make sure that they were accommodated for having to dedicate so many hours in just one day. This is also me, okay. Another thing that we're really proud of this year is our podcast that we've done in partnership with Newhoff Media. Every week we go to the radio station and we talk about, like our project is focused on, we talk about the positives about Danville and what's happening in the community that is good. So we've brought in a few community leaders like Dr. Nacko from DAC, we brought in Miss Cherry, we brought in Mr. Bretz, and we also brought in some of our alumni to basically to tell people who graduate from Danville are doing good things. There are plenty of things that people are, like, they're trailblazing in the paths that they choose, and they're doing really great things, and we just wanted to make sure people knew that Danville's not all bad. Look at this.
So one of the big things we did this year is the Vermilion County Youth Leadership Conference. And we did this as a large part of public perception of local schools. It has to do with the students' awareness of the issues going on. And some adults look down on the young people because they sometimes seem to not, it's like we don't care about the adult issues, but in reality, students do care about the adult issues going on. This was intended to prepare the students for the adult world by informing them of important issues, as well as gathering what they think their views are on the issues. And these are some of the comments we got from the students and participants of the conference. And then the big idea that we have is these two words here is agency, meaning you have the power to fix your own problems within your community, as well as autonomy. You have the independence to use that agency.
So what you see on the screen right now is actually something that I created this past week. I created a survey that I sent out to all the district staff, basically asking them questions related to our project, like, for example, Danville District 118 is often represented in a negative light on social media. About 66% of people agree that that is true. And the one that I thought was a really great statistic was public perceptions of social media accurately represent the successes of District 118 students and staff, and 66 people disagree with that statement, which is, it basically says our successes are not accurately represented by what people say on social media, which I thought was really powerful because that's 100% true. There are plenty of things that are going on, like I've said so many times already. There are plenty of things going on. People don't realize that they're successes just because we don't talk about them or other people aren't talking about them. I also we collected a few comments from individual staff members on the survey. People are saying, like, in general, people are saying people didn't apply to Danville, but now living in Danville, they wish they had because of certain things that they see in our community. Also, people recognizing that teachers in Vermilion County are paid a lot more, despite it being rural, than in places like Champaign, who is not rural. there's more comments. And this is-
So our future plans for this year is the high pressure that goes onto the counselors and extending the project to Northridge. During the VCYLC, the Vermilion County Youth Leadership Conference, we learned some few things that were happening within the district. Like, for example, the counselors, just having 4 counselors at DHS, that was not enough, and they were not equipped to handle the number of students that they had to deal with on almost a daily basis. And the students didn't even know about this issue really, and so they kept going to the counselors and just causing more pressure for them. So some of the stats that we have is like the 4 students for 1,200, the 4 counselors for 1,200 students, 3 weeks to get through all students if they each needed to meet for 25 minutes. This not including the breaks or sick days, and is not feasible at the beginning of a semester. So how can we take some of the load off of the counselors? Well, we can have student-led trainings for underclassmen on using Zello and registering for classes. This can be done with help from like seniors and juniors who have done this before. We can also create a resource packet / online PDF students can access with resources for dual enrollment with DAC. Oh yeah. Okay. We also could have more secretarial staff to handle the basic student questions, such as where can I find things, like where the transcript is, or where can I get information on this?
I would like to go back for a second. I would like to thank Ms. Button for helping us with the second bullet point on this list. We have confirmation that we have started the process of getting like a resource packet compiled for students who are curious about dual enrollment at DAC, because there is a lot of confusion around that right now, especially since this is one of the first years that it's been so mainstreamed in a long time. So we just wanted to thank Ms. Button for helping us out with that.
So, extending our project to Northridge. So, DHS is only one of many locations in facing teacher shortages and negative perception. So, we will be participating in the High Five Friday next Friday, February 10th. We will be holding an event to thank Northridge teachers. We will be handing out Bob Awards and candy and sensory stickers, which is what the other FPS members were handing out earlier. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to us ramble. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Miss Woods, did you want?
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Anything you'd like to say?
No, they covered all. This is their show. I'm usually just their professional shopper and other activities that they can't do.
Needless to say, I'm sure you're very proud of them and that they've progressed quite well this year.
They have. This was not on our radar. I'll be honest, this came about from them being in my classroom, and they're like, there's no science teachers. I'm going to college. Where am I getting AP Bio and all this? And just talking from my side of it, talking from their side, they said, okay, this is where we need to go. And yeah, I will give this group credit. I do not have to hunt them down usually to finish stuff. My classroom's a little bit of a trash mess right now, but between all of this, but they get in, they get their little lollipops made for the next round. I'm sure by May they're going to really not like Tootsie Pops, but that's a lesson they'll learn from this project. The podcast, you guys, who do we need to?
Thank you, Steve Brandy, for helping us with the podcast every week. Thank you for bearing with us.
Newhoff Broadcasting.
Yes, I mean,
Newhoff,
trusting a bunch of kids who have never done this, it's been a huge learning curve. The first podcast we're like, okay, let's stop and retry that. Tom Barnes and Steve, you can tell the beauty of Danville High grads because they just really stepped up and wanted this to work for the kids, and they've come a long way, haven't they, Mr. Brandy? Yeah, they're doing well. We can get in and out now in 25 minutes. So yeah, just they've done a great job and just really thinking it through. And the first group I never had to push to do statistics. They're like, so now we're going to do this. I'm like, okay, whatever. Show me before you send it out. So yeah, they're very passionate about this idea that they, and I think they've learned things getting to have alumni come in. We're having more come in, but honestly, we're working around their college schedule. So we brought in 3 weeks of it while they were home for Christmas break. We had to wait for Caleb Griffin to finish football season, and so before Peyton went back to Annapolis, we grabbed the Hiles and the whole military thing, and
Excellent.
so yeah, they plan it out well and make it happen. So. And it's making a podcast, or they're downplaying like throwing a podcast together every week when they did all this other stuff. So yeah, they're doing a good job. And so please share your ideas with us, because I think that's what we learned after we sat down with everybody with the Stanville High students and just did a District 118 thing. Like, they walked away at first and I said, isn't this your project? Everybody's frustrated, so let's figure out the frustration and what you can do. And so share your ideas with us. You can email, if you use your email me, I throw it on to them. They're all organized everywhere. They have some ideas. Mrs. Paps for human resources and sharing some of their little stories and things. So listen to their podcast. There's some really great stories they're sharing on the podcast. Mr. Bretz, we pulled him in. so there's some great stories, and we'll be pulling others in as we go here.
That's okay. I have the ability to do that. Any questions? Any questions or comments, board members?
How do we hear the podcast?
Vermilion County First Act.
Say it again.
Vermilion County First Act. Go to the podcast section.
All right.
Just a quick comment. Thank you for including me on the Leadership Summit this last week. I was so inspired by all of the kids and all of their ideas. And all of the problems that I heard were not just District 118 problems, they were county-wide, school after school. And I came away thinking, if we just listened to you guys, if we just brought our problems to you and listened to you, we could solve a lot of things. So thank you for being leaders and thoughtful leaders. It's appreciated.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, good luck. We expect everything solved by the end of the year.
You got it, boss.
All right. We're in good hands. There's a lot of them.
I like these.
And normally they would have been an agenda item. It all happened so fast I didn't have time, but certainly we need to take time to celebrate our students. So that was the exception that I asked Doc to make. I know it's in violation of the 5 minutes, but as a board president, if I asked in advance, he is it. And certainly we're here for the students. So I appreciate that leeway.
We are in violation, but it's okay.
I think you had 25 minutes. They each could have had 5.
That's right.
If
Thank you.
If you need that. Any other comments?
Oh.
No? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Oop. Like I say,
Well, good evening. I'm Bob Richard, Executive Director of the Danville Public School Foundation, and I have my boss with me tonight, Mr. Kurt Ellis. He's the President of the Foundation Board of Directors. And we're here just to kind of recap that around in 2018, if you remember, Mr. Ellis was approached at church by high school choral director Jeff Thomas about the possibility of the foundation assisting the choral, the band, and the orchestra departments in painting some new lights and new sound in the auditorium at Danville High School. Mr. Ellis called me and let me know of the conversation, so I reached out to Mr. Thomas and had a discussion with him about their ideas, basically. And he started off by explaining how hard the student performers work to perfect their craft, and that they felt that it was incumbent upon them to try to get the best sound and lights at Danville High School as possible to show off their talent. These teachers really dream big, and at that time he proposed a budget that was just outside the foundation's what we could afford. But the dream didn't die. We kind of put it on the shelf, and because we never know what things might change. And of course, things did change, and Mr. Julius Hegler passed away. And Julius W. Hegler II gave us a sizable bequest to the foundation. And once that happened, I reached out to Skip Truax, and I asked Mr. Truax, I said, hey, do you think you'd like to partner with on some new sound and lights at the high school? And he was very excited about the idea. This was pre-COVID. There was no money. So it was different back then. So Mr. Truax did what he does best. He got all the partners together, talked about what was needed, went out, got the right people to do the job. And what started out as just a few lights and a little bit of sound turned out to be a total renovation of not only the sound and lights, but also the rigging. As you all know, it was in pretty bad shape. We wouldn't have known that had we not proceeded with this project. So it grew. I think it was close to what, about $850,000, Mr. Truax? So quite different than I think the original project might have been around $100,000. But this is an example of what can happen when you have a group of dedicated teachers who dream big. And we want to thank Mr. Thomas, Mr. Ryan Kraft, who's the director of the band, Mr. Gage Womack, who's the orchestra director, for bringing this project to the foundation. Of course, we want to thank you for allowing us to partner on this project. And of course, Mr. Hegler and all of our donors. We have hundreds of donors who continue to support the foundation's mission of providing enhanced educational opportunities for the students attending Danville Public Schools. COVID did slow the project, but it did not stop it, and now it's complete and it's time to pay the bill. Tonight we're here to present the district with a big check for $320,000 for our portion of the project. We'd also like to let everyone know, as the future problem solvers had mentioned, that if you want to experience the improvements to the auditorium, no better time than to attend the Midwest Classic this weekend that highlights all the show choirs from across the state. So what we'd like to do is have Dr. Geddes and Dr. Ashton come down and accept our big check so we can get a picture and share our successes.
You don't have to ask me twice.
I was going to say, when you had your money out, I said, they don't want it.
Yeah,
You know,
I was gonna say.
I was going to get it.
Are you kidding me? Well, you should be here.
Yeah.
You should be there. You should be. We're just ancillary people.
That's right.
Bob and I mean nothing.
Okay, took 3.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The real check just take to the bank?
Yeah, no, the real check was delivered last week.
I'm gonna say, is this a Happy Gilmore check? You know, he saves them all in their trunk. I like it though.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of that project.
Thank you.
Yes, we want to thank you and all the people that donate to the foundation. The foundation is invaluable. We appreciate you very, very much. All the work that you go through, all the people that donated to, and all the things that you guys set up. We really appreciate that. There's a lot of the board. Thank the board for us, and we certainly do appreciate it. But that project is, like you said, is kind of magical how it started, small, and which I don't know about you, the board members that were when we first started it. It was kind of like, wow, that was kind of an impressive number when we started, and then where we ended up. But if you go into the end there now, and listen and see and go backstage, if you just the rigging alone, it's exciting. Yeah. So when we learn how to use it all and utilize it, it'll be terrific.
And a lot of success goes to Mr. Truax. He's done a great job doing that project.
So thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. So keep it up.
We will.
Okay. Okay. No more public comments. I've closed them.
Wait.
Yeah.
Is there more? Okay. I thought that was it. Well, no, this will be good.
He said 3 more.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Good evening, board. Dr. Geddes. I have the absolute greatest thing is to introduce Michaela. This is Michaela Gomez. She is a fabulous art teacher at Danville High School, and she would like to tell you about the art show that's going on. So I have some more comments after she's done.
Graduate.
Oh yeah, that's right. She is a DHS graduate. I forgot.
Good evening, Dr. Geddes and the school board. My name is Michaela Gomez, like Mr. Klett said, and I am a DHS grad, very proud of that, and of course I am a DHS returner. So I'm currently the art teacher at Danville High School. I'm very proud in the work I do, and I love my students. I've been there for about 3 years now. And I'm here to tell you guys about our upcoming District 118 art show here at the Danville Art League. So Northridge, Southview, and DHS, we partnered with the Danville Art League. The ladies' names are Carol Garver and Becky Engel. They're really great, wonderful ladies at the Danville Art League, but we've partnered with them to showcase all the wonderful things that our students do from elementary all the way up to high school, and how much they grow all the way throughout. So Brianna Hubbard, Josh Duffy, and I went there yesterday along with the DHS Art Club, and we spent about 3 hours matting the artwork so it looks more professional, labeling the artwork, and then hanging it all up on the walls so that the students can come and see it. So that show will take place all throughout February, so from the 1st today all the way to the 28th. The Art League has been very generous in not only donating the mats and helping us mat the artwork, matting it for us, and demonstrating to the art club how to mat it because it was their first time. And also donating a space for us to be able to showcase their artwork. So there will be an open reception on February 18th, which is on this. I believe you guys have this. It is from 1 to 3 p.m. You don't have to stay the full 3 hours, but it's kind of a drop-in. You get to look at everything. There's refreshments, and we hope to see many of you there to help support some of our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Nice job.
To finish off, I'm a Danville grad also. That's one time. I graduated long before she was probably born, but that's okay. So I want to talk a little bit about Mr. My brain just went blank. Bob. Richards, thank you. Talked about the Midwest Classic. I want to invite everyone to come and see. It's 21 groups performing this weekend. Junior high and middle school is on Friday. High school is on Saturday. They are still needing some help. They asked me to beg for some volunteers, so I'm here to help that. If anyone would like to volunteer, you guys can contact me and I can give you the link to get into to help. But excellent thing. We've been doing it for years, and I think you'd really miss out if you guys didn't come and see it. And you also get to see our students perform too. So I'd like to invite you guys to come and see that. So
That's this weekend, right?
yes, this Friday and Saturday.
Thank you. Be there, be square.
Good evening, board. Dr. Geddes. Molly Bailey, Director of Special Education, and I'll be very quick. I just want to always thank people for their generosity. Joanne Beagle, she donated 8 bags of hand-sewn hats for students in the district. She must have started and just went all year. They were full, like crammed through. So we were able to pass those out to all kinds of elementary students that needed those. So we want to thank her. And also not only the Knights of Columbus, but the whole community, because as they do their Tootsie Roll Drive every year, then they donate generously to the Special Education Department and the We Can Do Anything Club at Danville High School. So thank you to the Knights of Columbus and all of you that throw your change in as you drive through.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. I will also be very quick. Good evening, board and Dr. Geddes. I'm Nicole Zoyer, principal at Southwest Elementary School, and I'm here tonight for to remind you that tomorrow is the 100th day of school. If you did not know that, it's one of my favorite days of school, so tomorrow we're celebrating the 100th day. But I want to invite you and our parents out, all of our Southwest families, next Thursday. is our STEAM night, our annual STEAM night from 5 to 6:30 at Southwest Elementary School. We have lots of fun STEAM activities planned for our families to do with their students and teachers while they're there. But I also want to invite our parents out before STEAM night for our family council meeting. We will be serving dinner, and that's open to any parents that want to attend. Starting at 4:15, we'll be serving dinner and have the laptops available for parents to participate in the 5 Essentials survey if they want to come early before STEAM night. So we invite you all out next Thursday to come and visit us at Southwest. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll take this opportunity to thank all the people that have graciously have donated time, money, effort to District 118. It seems, I mean, we've just been through public comments and between the foundation and all the people that step up and just and help out. So thank you very much. We certainly do appreciate it, and it really makes the year go by better. So thank you very much. Okay, now to item 6, cancellation of our regular Board of Education meeting.
So last time we talked, we thought we would need to reschedule it, and I think what we came up with is that we were just gonna cancel that one and have all the business on the first meeting, and then have the next one in March. So we want to do that officially.
Okay, so what you have in front of you is an approval, is a recommendation for us to cancel the next meeting, and so the next meeting will be in March.
Well, we have February first. I mean, this one.
This one, yeah, but
gotcha,
the
okay.
next meeting, so we won't
Gotcha.
have the middle of February. And we'll be able to conduct our business as we go, everything will get taken care of. Okay, do I have a motion?
I move to approve that.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for cancellation of the February 15th meeting. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Elder Park,
Yes.
Mrs. Howard,
Yes.
Mrs. Beard,
Yes.
Mr. Easton,
Yes.
Mrs. Schrader,
Yes.
Captain Miller,
Yes.
Dr. Ashton.
Yes. If everyone kind of wants to know it, there's just like 8,000 conflicts with that night. So that's why we ended up doing that. And then when we discussed moving it to another night, we came up with 9,000 more conflicts. So that's why we want, you know what? Maybe someone is telling us that we shouldn't have had that we didn't need to have that meeting. So thank you, board. Brings us to item number 7 in business and finance, and it's our audit presentation.
Yes, and so we, Ms. Rankin actually has an emergency, and so she is gone, and so we're gonna pray for both she and her family that all is well, and they get, we'll pray. But we have, someone from, Hope's office, that's not, come on up. Come on up. Thank you, Clifton
Just,
Larson
I'll tell
Allen.
you, introduce yourself and
Sure.
and
I
take it
will.
from there. Thank you.
Yeah, so I am Sandy Perry.
Thank you, Sandy.
Sure.
I am the engagement director on the 118's audit, and I'm with Clifton Larson Allen here in town. So we issued opinion on your financial statements that's in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and your annual financial report that is submitted to the state of Illinois through the Illinois Board of Education. So that opinion on those reports was unmodified, so that's a clean opinion. We note that all of your fund balances for each of your funds had a positive ending balance, so no deficit fund balances as of June 30th, 2022. Expenditures over budget in the education fund did occur, but overall revenues exceeded those expenditures, and you could look at the detailed budget to the actual results as of June 30th in the financial report that we issued, and those are like pages 69 through 82 in the financial report. And that the budget is approved by you, the Board of Education. So the district did receive a recognition status for the ISB on the annual financial report, which again is submitted to the Illinois Board of Education. Do you guys have any questions? Do you have any questions on the financials when you reviewed them? Okay, I'll move on. We're required to communicate certain matters to the board. One was if there's any new GASBs, any new accounting standards that are implemented during the year. This year, the districts had GASB 87 for leases. Fortunately, or for us, the district didn't have any significant leases. So there was really, we looked through all the leases that you do have, but we didn't find any that were material enough to add any additional liabilities or assets to the books or additional footnote disclosures as well. But we did spend some time looking at all those leases to determine that. Our governance letter also discusses the accounting estimates that are part of your financial statements. So the main one would be like depreciation, something that could, extent, like the life of an asset is not always the actual life of the asset based on what your capital lives have been set at. It also, the governance letter has a listing of all the adjusting journal entries that we made to bring your cash financials, your cash basis financials up to full accrual basis. So there's probably about 12 pages. So that's recording of receivables and payables as of June 30th. Do you guys have any questions on any of those items I just discussed? Findings. This is a repeat finding from last year. We prepare your financial statements and we prepare those adjustments, bringing them from cash basis to full accrual. But that's fine. We can do that, but we just can't be part of your internal control. It's still your financial statements. It's still your responsibility. So that, again, is a very common finding that we have at various clients all over. We did make correcting journal entries, bringing those items up to we made correcting entries to cash and accrued liabilities for items that we noted during our audit that needed to be corrected. We also moved capital expenditures that had been recorded in a capital project fund incorrectly and in the operations and maintenance fund. So we had to move some items there. We also made a correction to payables recorded in the capital projects fund last year, so fiscal year 21, and made those entries. Our third finding, financial statement finding, is there were certain internal controls that we found that weren't being completed. Or they were being completed, but maybe they weren't being documented as completed. So it goes back to like showing your work from grade school, just making sure that when someone reviews something, that they initial it and date it, just so that we can follow that documentation, or anyone else who would review it could follow that as well. And that goes for journal entries and bank reconciliations. Activity funds, we found that one was overdrawn at one point during the year, and a district expense was paid out of the activity fund, and then later reimbursed. And then many years ago, the district set up a policy to do like internal audits of activity funds, because there is a lot of activity that goes through those at different schools, and there are new staff members and new principals and people in that process. So it's just always a good idea to self-audit those as well. If you guys have any questions or
So the internal audits were being completed.
No, they hadn't been, just because of the staffing issues, and there's been a lot of turnover in the business office, so those hadn't been completed.
So prior to, we had a Heather and a narcissist. Now we don't. We only have a narcissist. Narcissist was, when I brought her in, I had her doing the audits of our activity accounts because we had a number of citations. And so I had her to do audits. Now narcissist does not have a narcissist to do the audits. And so now we're back to the citation.
So do we have a plan to fix that?
We don't have anyone to hire. We would have to hire a body. And so a number of our citations, because we don't have enough staff to do, so we get cited for not having enough checks and balances. You have too many people doing the same job. And so you should have more people who are to check.
Spread it out.
Yes.
And we're short staffed and we don't have it, so we continue to get that citation.
And, when things aren't done timely, I mean, some items can just pop up and they're not resolved quickly, so then you just have an undetected problem that could occur, like you just don't have anyone reviewing it closely enough. So it's always good to have reviews and everything, reconciliations done timely and regularly.
And because we didn't have the audit, one of my building student activity accounts had not quite balanced their books properly and was slightly overdrawn. So that's what she's talking about. It was at the building level.
Dr. Geddes, maybe this is a question for another time, but is that position in the financial record business office on a continuous posting?
Oh, we haven't posted it since Narcissus became, there was no discussion about filling that position at all.
Okay. And there won't be?
Because it was created when Narcissus came, Heather.
Okay.
And so the board did not have any discussion about continuing it.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
now that we're hearing the audit, should we not be discussing it? It's a rhetorical question, but if we're saying we're being cited for something we are not doing because there's not staff, then that's something I think we need to look at.
And
So, it's just a statement.
Yes, ma'am.
We will look at staffing in business. Okay.
The final item is that the single audit, which is just your audit over your federal awards, just specific federal awards. We're almost done with that. Is that we've completed the testing. It's been through Hope Wheeler, the principal's review, and it's at our second technical review process right now. So we hope to have that issued by the end of the month, and it's not due until March 31st, but we expect to have it completed and issued as of probably the end of this month. And then we did test 2 programs, ESSER and child nutrition.
And
Okay.
just to speak to your ESSER, because the capital project, I see Skip Hyde back there. Come on, Skip. When we had ESSER money, there were some projects that we had planned that we would pay, but then ESSER decided that, it became that we had ESSER and we could do that. And so we had paid it out of the building fund and it needed to move it over to the grant fund. And so it wasn't done as timely because of construction projects. And so we are on that. And then we have recognized that we need to, even though it's one project, capital outlay, there are things we have to take out and then attribute it to, say, the purchase service, such as like architectural fees or something like that. And so we are working with Mr. Truex to make sure we delineate those expenses appropriately, right, Mr. Truex?
I got it.
Right. I mean, you got
I
like
love him.
ESSER is like over $4 million. I mean, it's a big sum of money, and with a lot of moving pieces. It's again,
And some of us always want a piece of it, so they're always asking for more and more of it. Mr. Truex.
so
Thank you, sorry.
I don't really have anything else. So, if you have any other questions for me?
Yes, board, any questions, comments? If not,
I have a question. So the reason we have audits is to keep corruption out and to be good stewards with the resources that the taxpayers have given us. Your report shows you think we're pretty much good stewards, but we probably should think about fixing these internal controls. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I also think so.
Good. Then you would love to make a motion to accept this audit.
I do make that motion.
Well, thank you. Did someone like to second it?
Second it.
Any questions or comments on our audit?
Thank you.
Very well done
Okay.
and thorough.
Yes, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Terry?
Yes.
Mrs. Strider?
Yes.
Elder Clark?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Holland?
Yes.
Mr. Easton?
Yes.
Dr. Essen?
Yes. In fairness, I mean, these are things that have come year to year. I mean, these are not crazy things that we found or, like disheartening. So, they kind of ongoing with when we have our audit. So, we'll leave it at that. We will fix what we need to fix. Item number 7C, transportation. Recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Geddes. I'm John Hurt. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Schools, and I'm here tonight to recommend First Student for a 2-year contract to continue with the district. We've been with them for about 20 years. We did have 2 bidders. So we had First Student and North American Central. First Student came in with an 8.75% increase, while North America Central came in with a 15.31% increase. So my recommendation is we continue our partnership with First Student Transportation.
All right. If we want to discuss this, I would love to have a motion so that we can, and a second. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. And a second? I'll second it. For the sake of conversation. Any questions or comments, Board?
I have. Is First Student here?
They are. They're represented the second to the back row.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
When they came at the beginning of the year, and I voiced a concern about transportation, picking up, dropping off, I was told I would get a phone call when things were worked out or made better. I never got that phone call, and I don't see better. So why would I be voting on something that is still a problem that we had at the beginning of the year, and we are now in February? Yeah, February. So I want you to tell me why I would vote. I'm talking to First Student. Why I would vote to keep you. Whoever.
You'll need to stand at the microphone or you won't be heard.
Yeah.
Please make sure you guys introduce yourself.
I will let John and Chris do that.
Yep. Good afternoon, Chris Coyle, Area General Manager. Valid question there. I think probably the biggest reason is what you see here. We've got a new location manager that is starting, so comes from Danville originally, and is invested into the community. Nick Sorey also has children in the community. This is our senior shop manager, Kyle Borst, living in the community. We understand that we have not performed up to expectations in what we have previously done, but we are working on issues from a routing standpoint. Things are getting better. We can always improve, looking for efficiencies. That's our pledge to you on that. Regarding customer service, we are having folks that are helping out with the phones during the route times where we didn't have before. There is a nationwide shortage of drivers, and as far as availability too. So those are some of the challenges. It's not excuses. We're continuing to, recruit and train folks. We've got 7 people in training, right? Yep. 7 total folks in training. We're 7 drivers short. So that's our commitment to you. I think from the standpoint, this should not be indicative of what we want to move forward. It's not to our standards, and we understand it's not to yours.
My name's John Billigmeyer. I'm the Senior Vice President for First Student running the Central Region. I've got 8 states and dispatch over 8,000 buses a day. I'll speak to a little bit about what Chris said with the state of the industry. It's not affecting just First Student. It's not affecting just contractors. It's affecting every school district in the country for the most part. As we've come out of COVID, things have gotten better. But the nationwide driver shortage is a real thing, and it is affecting most communities in the country. You see it on the news. You don't have to look very far to Google bus driver shortage and find the problems in every district associated with this. We feel that in our contract, part of our 8% raise or 8% increase addresses driver shortages, addresses payroll, gives us a competitive wage in the market, the best in the market around here to attract drivers. We've got as the largest school bus provider, we do have our corporate structure helping us with recruiting. We've got dedicated recruiters to help us find drivers in the community. And I would say the vast majority of our issues are associated with the driver shortage and admittedly some communication errors that we have on a day-to-day basis that we need to get better at. And I think Chris addressed that with the new staff that we are bringing in here, committed to making sure that we're communicating, committed to making sure that we're working with Danville Public Schools on what our issues are, and as a partnership we get better at fixing those issues so that we both understand both sides of the table and what the challenges are. Thank you for your question.
But I didn't get my answer. I did not get my answer to why no one got back to me when I asked you at the beginning of the year and someone said, we're working on it, we'll contact you.
Okay.
Nobody contacted me. And this is the other thing. On last Friday, when the buses were going to be 45 minutes late, why did we get the call way after school was dismissed? Why couldn't we have gotten that call earlier? Because when we as parents are standing out there looking for the bus, we should have already gotten that call that the buses were going to be 45 minutes late. I'm not saying you don't have the problem. What I'm saying is there's robocall. The robocall came through, but it was way after school was out. And I'm sitting going to a game thinking, okay, why am I seeing kids just getting off a bus at 5 something? What I'm saying is there are some things that can be done better.
Absolutely.
And if you're seeing that folks don't show up after lunch to drive your buses, then you already know they're going to be late. Call the parents.
Absolutely.
They're calling us. Want to know why aren't my kids at home? What's going on? We don't know. So then we call the superintendent, we call John. But what I'm saying is that robocall, even if they're not going to be late 45 minutes, but they're later than what the parents usually get them, call them. Say, we're having some problems. Your child may be late. Parents know that. But when we're already standing out there, to get that call doesn't do us any good.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Questions? Comments?
Well, I would just say that Ms. Carey's experience is not singular.
that one of the most unpleasant things about serving on this board, and there are not that many unpleasant things, but it is very unpleasant to hear from parents about how upset they are with the bus garage. And it's been abysmal this year. It's been very, very bad. And we can like each other all day long, and we do. We like you, but our kids are not getting home on time, and there have been problems with communication, and the parents are very upset. And we can't just be like, thanks for standing up there and apologizing, but we're not seeing a change being affected. And I appreciate that you came out here en masse. I really do. But I'm not really hearing that there's going to be a change. I'm not. I'm hearing some assurances, but then when Mr. Coyle was here at the beginning of the year, we had the same assurances, and there's been, I guess, maybe some improvement, but we're still getting the calls. So I guess that's a statement, not necessarily a question, but it's a grave concern, and I would be wrong if I didn't mention it here in this public forum.
Understand.
And so we need to bring some things to light. We have several buses who are at capacity.
Sure.
And we brought that to your attention. However, we also have several buses that are running with 4 and 5 students. And we have brought this to your attention time and time again. We have asked for you to do an audit of the routes. I don't have that. I've asked for time and time again. It is unacceptable to have certain routes run at 4 and 5 and other routes run at 75. And you consistently do it for years.
So, what is the difference is it on the price between the two bids on the first? I mean, what are we looking at for?
$276,634.
Okay, that's 300. Yeah, that's 300 and something and change, right?
Yes.
For
That's
them.
year one, I believe.
Okay.
With the 8.75% increase to first student over what was your last year's increase? The last contract, was it 17%?
So there's 17% and now 8.
No, there was 17 before this one. And then 8.75 on this one.
Doc, I have a question for you. Do we have to vote on this today? Can this be tabled and give them the rest of the year to see whether what they just said to us can be done? There's
You
an
can
improvement?
Table the motion.
I would like to table the motion.
However,
Oh, I'm sorry.
So there is an issue with your bid because it's 30 days out, am I correct?
That is.
And you have after you go to bid, you have 30
Oh.
days to accept or reject it. And if after those 30 days, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so today is the 30th day, is that correct? Because we opened on the 2nd.
That's correct. That's correct.
Today's the 2nd.
Today's the first.
First, okay. So we have until tomorrow, and after that, that bid is null and void.
So we have to accept or
No,
reject
you do not.
today.
Well, you have to accept or reject. I'm sorry. I thought you said.
Yeah, accept or reject.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can table it, but tomorrow it is going to die anyway.
yes,
Oh.
if you table it, then there's a different set of numbers that we may be dealing with. Is that correct? Is that what I'm?
That bid will be null and void.
You'd have to reissue.
What
an
we have right
RFP.
here is
Mhm.
no.
We would
be
have to
null
go
and
out to
void.
bid again.
Yeah, you'd
Right.
have to reissue an RVP or another RFP.
Right.
That is correct.
Okay, which brings where I'm going to even interject a little more mud to your discussion here, because I understand the displeasure of the board because we've been dealing with it for the year, and you know that.
Sure.
Okay, I'm sure you didn't even want to show up tonight. Okay, because they're going, oh, come on. So I understand the frustration that we have, and I understand the frustration here to everybody in this room and the parents that are watching at home. Okay, but then again, as a board member, we need bus service. Okay, and we need a commitment that we're going to have a bus service. So I kind of temper what goes on this year with, well, in the past years, we've done okay. We've had a decent relationship. And I'm going, I like to think that this year was a storm of unbelievable things that a lot of businesses have gone through, not being able to uh, uh, get the workers that they need. We just came off of COVID, and we had supply chain issues, and we had all sorts of issues. So I like to think that that's what's going on. But then on the other hand, I look at a $350,000 difference for that we've not had other bidders before. So I'm torn between that. But I go, this is the lowest bid. This is what's been put before us.
I wonder if we can accept a bid conditioned upon certain things, certain deliverables. I would need a quick 5-minute research past attorneys about that though. If you needed, because you said some things needed to happen, and if you outline those things, can you accept a bid conditioned upon certain deliverables? I don't know that. Do you know that?
If you change the scope of the RFP, it changes the scope of the bid.
Then you have to accept or reject. Okay.
However, we would be more than happy to work with you outside the scope of the RFP to set standards, expectations, dates with deliverables, and work this out so that we can provide you the service that you deserve. Again, Chris acknowledged, and I acknowledge as well, part of it is what you said. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances that led to the service that we've had, not only in this location, but we've had shortages in other areas. We are climbing out of it. It is getting better. The application flow is better. And I'm not just talking about drivers either. I'm talking about quality of staff as well that we've had to deal with. It is getting better. We're not scared to make those changes. As you see, we've got in a new location manager. We're going to continue. We have internal expectations as well, internal KPIs that we measure ourselves on. We don't want to be where Danville is. We want to climb out of that. Again, we've been good partners in the past. Thank you for acknowledging that. And we'll work to get there again together if you give us the opportunity.
And I do think it should be pointed out that there is a cancellation clause in our contract if we're not receiving the service that we expect. So just a reminder, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, we do have early cancellation, and if we go into next year and service hasn't improved, you can invoke that and make a change.
Okay. Well, board. Any other questions?
The question for you and Dr. Geddes, Dr. Ashton. Is it true, to your knowledge anyway, that 80% of the transportation costs that we have as a district are reimbursed by the state of Illinois?
When they are fully reimbursing, there are times when you don't receive all your reimbursement payments, and that varies depending on the health of the state's budget.
Recently, in the last few years?
Yes, recently in the last year, we have received all of our payments.
80%, right?
I'm gonna say recently we've received all of our payments.
Yeah.
But we have been shorted before.
The reason I'm asking is
Yeah.
the number. I think the number isn't transparent. And to clarify if I'm wrong, Dr. Geddes, Dr. Ashton, this does not include the price of fuel,
Correct. Because
which is how much more do we think on average?
I'd have to pull that for you.
But it's a lot.
Fuel is a lot. We actually supply the fuel, which I've asked for an audit on that as well, because I have a question about additional trips that you guys provide in the Danville buses, but you cover the signs up, and I wanted to know how we delineate the gas that you use for that. I think I've asked for that for 8 years, though. Is that right, Mr. Hart? Have asked for that for about 8 years?
I know that I've asked for it from Dr. Geddes, and she continually tells me multiple times that that is not given. That's an accountability of where the fuel is being spent, that it's actually being spent on buses going on our bus routes. Simple logging of someone's keeping track of that has not been happening for 8
No,
plus
I can't
years?
say.
No.
I
Or
have
haven't been
asked
given
for-
it to us.
I
haven't
don't
been
have it.
given to us, the board who
I don't
pays that very large bill. Seems like a very large oversight, in my opinion.
So to clarify, buses with our name on the side of them are using our fuel, presumably, are traveling places, not with our students, and we're paying for the fuel.
No. So they have the ability to use our buses because they're buses, but the contract says they have to cover our signs.
Right.
And so they can do additional trips. I wanted.
Who's paying for the gas?
That's what I was trying to determine because that was what was asked of me, and I have not been able to answer that question because I don't have that information.
Okay, I'll take that back.
Thank
I'll
you.
get you that answer.
Thank you.
We do not use your fuel to do outside. We
Well,
use our own
I
fuel.
would certainly hope not, but the question is about transparency.
Sure.
That's what I was bringing up.
That's good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so you know when I call it to a vote, either it's up, down. If it's not down, it's rebid. Okay? All right. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Schrader?
No.
Mr. Park?
No.
Mr. Easton?
No.
Ms. Tyler?
Yes.
Dr. Miller?
No.
Peter?
No.
Dr. Ashton?
Yes. Motion fails 5-2. Well, we'll go back to the drawing board.
All right.
I guess. And hopefully get our issues ironed out and come up with something else.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely. We look forward to it.
again, I think we appreciate that you showed up this
Yeah.
evening. Thank you. Answer our question and address some of our current concerns. I mean, that's really important, and we
Absolutely.
appreciate it. And like I said, it's a difficult. You knew it wasn't going to be
Yes.
great.
Absolutely.
So, and for that, I commend you. I really appreciate that. I hope we can get something taken care of and worked out.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
the time.
much.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay, everybody. Item number 8, curriculum. Replacement course offers. A first reading of a lot of courses.
Good evening, board and Dr. Geddes. Mr. Bretz and I have some very
And
exciting.
you are?
Oh, I'm Mary Ellen Bunn, Director of Curriculum.
Thank you. I kind of forgot for a second.
Yeah, me too. That happens to me
Yeah.
sometimes. And this is fun, good, exciting stuff.
Okay.
And all about the kids. And I have Mr. Bretz with me tonight, and we're really excited about all of this.
He looks excited.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't tell if you were going to introduce me if I had to introduce myself.
Yes.
But we're
Do
good now.
okay. Okay.
Take it away.
Okay. So Mr. Bretz and I have 2 courses that are going to be replacement courses that we would like to talk to you about tonight for a first reading. The first is AP Calculus to replace Honors Pre-Calculus, and the second is 2 English courses to replace 3 senior English courses. And so we will entertain any courses and any questions that you have about those courses.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Okay.
hmm
Will our kids be excited?
I think so.
Yep.
With both of these, they provide some good opportunities, and there's good rationale behind both of them. So I think our teachers are excited too. So
I'm reading the rationale. It kind of makes sense for some of these things. So the honors is to AP. So, okay. What else?
Thank you for including that rationale. That was a wonderful idea you had there.
Oh, was
Just
that
took
you?
away so many questions.
and yeah,
It-
okay.
It does.
Mm.
Yeah, it does.
If we're moving from 3 senior English classes to 2, does that affect or change our staffing? How does that work?
That it will help the staffing, but it's more about when we fill out, there's an ROE I don't know if you remember a couple meetings ago, you got to see that ROE audit form that we have to fill out. And one of the things that's on there is that all of our courses need to be writing and writing intensive, and they need to include speech. And when we have those 3 electives, if the students choose minority, lit, and they choose writing, then they're missing the speech. And if they depending on which 2 they take, they might be missing one of those things. So by combining those 3 classes into 2, then we're making sure that they always get speech, and they're always getting the writing, and they're always getting minority lit. So basically we're offering the same things, but we've combined them into two classes. So, and we have 3 genius teachers. All of our teachers are genius, but we have the 3 genius teachers that are putting those all together. So they're really getting the same classes. They just put them all together.
So this would really just be a year English requirement for seniors.
But it's combined into semesters, so our early grads don't lose out. So they can take both classes at the same time if they want to graduate in December. So it allows them. We are so fabulous that we are making it work for no matter what situation you are in your senior year, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We will offer both semesters in the first semester to allow for early graduates to graduate early if they so choose.
And the teachers wrote it, so it's not building. It's you're gonna get it. They're independent of one another. So
I could take both of them first semester, or I could take both of them second semester.
Mm-hmm. Or you can take one each semester.
Great.
Scheduling gonna allow that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We always offer more sections of senior English in general in the first semester to accommodate early graduates.
Thank you.
The only question I have, and I love the fact that you're doing AP pre-calc. I'd really like if you could, at some future point, show us our high school students when they take those AP tests. How many of them what are their scores, and how are we doing? Like, are we getting the credit? Because you have to get a certain score to get it on your transcript. How are we doing? I just wonder about that.
So what the teachers typically do, they typically do report out at the end of the tests, and it's the teachers celebrate how the kids do on the assessments.
Yeah.
But one thing that I want everybody to remember about that is what those scores mean is that how prepared are you for college when the kids take this, typically they're seniors when they take. So what that means is,
Like
right?
AP calculus specific or AP classes in general?
The pre-calc is
Juniors.
juniors. So at a junior level, if you get a 3 on it, that means that as a junior, you are prepared as a freshman student, right, or whatever level they would normally take a calculus class. And typically I don't think college freshmen take calculus.
Right.
So that's what that 3 means.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're scoring a 1 or a 2 as a junior in high school, you are probably at the level of where a freshman college student would be. So that's what those numbers mean.
Yeah.
So
the reason though I'm asking, I would just like to see how we're
the
doing.
scores. We do report those out. They typically we do share that information. So yes, we always do, so we can make sure that everybody knows that, and we can specifically bring it to a board meeting. But typically they share it. I've seen it on. We do put it on social media. The teachers share typically the how many kids get the 3s, 4s, and 5s.
We can include it in our data presentation that we have to do to you. The reason it's delayed is because there's so much miscalculation. We made some.
Well, the reason I'm asking is if you score high enough, you're saving yourself about $1,200 for a class
Depending
in college.
on, yeah.
I mean, maybe it's less than that depending on where you go. I think that's something to celebrate. I think.
Oh yeah.
And I just like to see it. Just
Yeah.
We've seen
just so we know.
We have seen the data.
We'll
Oh,
include it
yeah.
in the data
I mean,
report.
it's
I
been
don't wanna sit
reported
on
to us,
record
and
and
we've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
the numbers,
it's been screwed up.
and we see how many
We have
students come in and
issues
how,
with our
how they
report
talk,
Are we
and
still
how many people take a test.
Right.
I
Are
was
we
just
still
saying, everybody
paying
that takes a
students to
course
take
don't
the
take a
test?
test.
We don't pay the kids. We pay for the test
You
for
pay
the kids.
for the test.
Yes.
Do you demand the kids
No,
take
you
the
can't
test
make
at
them
the
take
end of an
nothing.
AP class, or is it optional?
That is
can't
the
make 'em take it 'cause
expectation.
you gotta pay for it.
There have been some challenges in some of the AP
Yeah, but
tests
what I'm
with kids
saying
not
is
wanting to
they
come
can
in and
take
take
the
them or
AP
I know
wanting
that's
to
true.
leave, but that's pretty rare.
We get
And as a
Um,
parent, I can say.
they
no,
get
no,
every
they-
opportunity to take the test.
Yeah, and every kid is expected to take it and it's paid for.
Yeah,
Mhm.
expected.
I would also like to see when we get that data compiled, how that compares to dual credit, because we do have a real robust opportunity with dual credit with the college, and if someone was going for college credit, that's another option. And
Absolutely.
That's actually, Ms. Button, that's actually where I'm going with what Ms. Schrader just said. Is it better to offer a class that we know is going to be on their transcript than an AP class? That's ultimately the question I'm wondering about.
That's a very difficult thing to answer because it depends on where you go to school
Yeah.
as to what the college will take. So you almost have to know where you're going to be able to answer that question. So
I'm aware of the complexity, but I just wonder if we're expressing that to our students.
Yes. So I think that, and it's a we've done both, but see, DAC, when they talk to the students, they really encourage the students to take the dual enrollment classes because that benefits DAC. And so it's really about the classes that are offered and what the students are interested in. And then some of the things that AP offers, DAC may not offer at their college, and some of the things that DAC offers, AP may not offer. So sometimes I think it's about a best fit for what the student needs or what they're interested in, more than it is about those credits that the student gets. So, and I can speak at it as a parent, and both. And sometimes, depending on, like, if you're moving out of Illinois, that makes a difference because dual credit is great if you're transferring in Illinois and sometimes out. And I'm about to have this conversation with Joey because we're going to Kentucky. And so I'm very curious to see how much of our stuff transfers, or not our stuff, his stuff transfers. So I'll be able to have that conversation, right? And it's been like he graduated a few years ago, but he's been continuing to take classes on. So it all really depends. There's not a clear cut answer. It really depends on where you're going. And sometimes kids don't know that right away, or it changes 14 times depending on what they're doing and where they're going, and
Or
what
they
their
transfer
plans
after
are.
their first year.
Right.
And isn't it a less of a problem for an AP transfer of credits than for dual enrollment?
I really think it depends on where you're going and what your major is. And that changes too.
And what your score is.
Yes, and I think if you're going to a private university and also a public university, it's a very complicated process. And also, I think COVID has changed it a little bit too, because colleges have gotten so very expensive, and I think they've gotten out of reach for a lot of folks. And so I think that some of that is changing too, with they may be backing off a little bit on what their restrictions are as well, to what they'll take or what they won't take. So
this might be a Mr. Brett's question. Who in the high school then has this very complicated conversation with our students? Is that the guidance counselors? Is it their teachers?
That would be
that you?
mostly part of the college future planning process with the school counselors.
Gotcha.
Okay, that was great for 8A. Now, how about 8B?
Okay, So we have several courses that are and it's interesting. It's neat because these are our teachers' ideas of things that come up from the students, and so these are all courses that we'd like to the teachers have based on student interest that they'd like to offer as electives. So we have 5 of them. The first is forensic speech, which is something that the state would really like for us to offer. And so that's the first one, and these are all first readings. So that's a forensic speech class. It can count as an English credit, and it can count as an elective, but it cannot count as both at the same time. And then we have 3 of the culinary arts classes. These are really important that we continue these because we have culinary arts classes that were offered this year and have been widely taken. And if we don't offer something next, the kids that took those classes won't have anywhere to go next. And if you walk around the high school on the second floor, it smells delicious. So I'm really hoping that you guys offer this. And I think Mr. Bretz was able to partake in, because he did some evaluations during some of the cooking classes and was able to partake in some of the deliciousness up there. And then the last one is an ancient civilizations class, which I would actually like to take. So we have those 5 classes that we'd like for you to consider for approval when we come up next at the next board meeting in March.
Great. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Just a quick comment. I had the opportunity to visit the culinary arts classroom. Wow, I was so impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nicely done. It was really, really impressive.
On the adult living, we had that before. I read that, do all of these tie in? I mean, you got the culinary too, then the adult living is.
So basically we didn't have that course this year, but it was part of the original proposal when we said we wanted to bring these courses back. So this will be updated to what we already have. There will be new curriculum for it. And these ladies, for brand new for actually any teaching, not even because they're brand new. I've been super impressed with their curriculum writing. I sat with them for probably an hour and a half and taught them how to do it, and they are amazing. They had some really great instruction, and they're very intuitive, and so I'm excited to see what they come up with for these 3 classes. So these classes will come back in the summer with the curriculum for all of these classes if you approve them.
And the ancient civilization elective?
Yes, that will be an elective, and that also is a brand new teacher that's come up with this idea. He's very excited about it and very hands-on class from what he's described.
He's wanting to actually use 3D printing to replicate ancient artifacts and get students to examine and interpret history with hands-on things on their desk that they can hold rather than just simply through reading texts.
What years?
10th through 12th.
Okay.
And the culinary, the adult living, the baking, I'll just add Miss Engelbretson and Miss Smith have done a tremendous job this year. There's been tremendous demand for those classes through the elective fair. And I would also advocate for the speech for the students who still would like a more intensive public speaking course, because that option is technically going away with the replacement English courses. And colleges, that's a pretty common gen ed course in college, and they do like to see that on transcripts as well. I remember having to take speech as a freshman at the U of I.
Great. I didn't realize we didn't have ancient civilization, so that's why I'm going. I think
there's a big
void. I'm with her. I'm going. I'd like to take that
for that part of history. We don't have that, and the history department, which has always been standout, feels that that's necessary, and I trust them and Mr. Covey's leadership of that department as well. So I would back that.
Okay.
I think he's right.
Well, we'll have an opportunity to tear these apart when they come. So thank you very much. And if we have any questions, we will find you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you. Item number 8C, summer school and extended school year.
Yes, it's the beginning of February, and I have come to tell you about summer school. So this is very similar to what we did last year. So I just have it for you to let you know about it. The only thing that is different are the locations. Really, the time frames are similar. We're serving lunch. And breakfast. Student hours are the same. Staff hours are the same. Vacations are the same. Days off are the same. We'll be doing Southwest Elementary, so that part's the same. We're going to move from Mark Denman to Liberty because of construction. Mead Park will still be doing their school. Danville High School will be at Danville High School along with Northridge, and KDBA will be at Edison. That will be a big change, and extended school year. Extended school year is going to be interesting because it's going to be at Southwest, and then 5 through 12 will be at the high school. I think that's pretty much all the excitement that we have
Why
for
is
you.
Northridge at the high school? Why
Well,
is that?
we had to do that last year because of the construction going on at Northridge, and some of that's necessary this year, and it worked out so well last year. The students really rose to the occasion being at the high school. No, we swore it. We feel like part of it, Ms. Brooks can speak to it, is because they saw themselves at the high school, and so we think that's what it was, is they saw themselves being high school students, so their behavior was excellent. They really were trying on their academics. No, it was like we were super impressed, so we decided that as long as the high school folks agreed to it, we wanted to keep it there because it went really well.
I just think this puts a lot of pressure on the high school administration.
They don't oversee it.
There was nobody overseeing it at first. There was no administrator over those middle school kids when it first started out last summer. So that's my question. I don't have a problem with it being there, but what I have a problem with is that if you're not going to bring up a middle school administrator to oversee that, to do summer school over there, that the high school people that's doing their summer school should not be responsible for those 7th and 8th graders. That's my concern. Ms. Brooks? That may be, but what I'm saying is we need to build our high school summer school because we're having a lot of issues with students passing stuff there. I want to see that number increase. And I don't want to see the high school administrators having to oversee the middle school. There has to be some days, I know there are some days that lap over that the middle school people have not finished their contract. But there has to be a difference in there somewhere because that's my only concern.
This year, last year was a unique year because we went so much later into the summer. Like if you remember, we went into, I think we went into June 10th, and then we started summer school almost the next day. Knock on wood, right now we get out, I think May, I can't remember the last day. And then we built in for 5 snow days, knock on wood. Hopefully we're not going to use those. And we don't start until June 12th. And so we're hoping that overlap is going to allow that sort of thing not to happen this year. And so there's a big significant gap in between the end of the school year and the beginning of summer school. So we avoid those issues that we had last year. And then we also had, there were a lot of issues because of the close and then busing, and we just had some significant.
Do you remember how many students we're talking about for the middle school at the high school? How many?
There were a significant number last year because of COVID. And
how many do you expect this year, if you had to guess?
It's hard to tell right now because Ms. Brooks does a really good job. Like it's a larger number now, but then she works with Mrs. Truex, And so they do several things to kind of reduce that number.
Like more than 150?
No, we usually don't have.
How many? I'm just wondering.
No, if we round every
If it's a normal year,
maybe about 50.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So, but we typically have an administrator over summer school.
Got it.
Last year was just a unique year.
Yeah, but I still understand that. And I know who that administrator has been in the past. And I feel like we're overtaxing that young man. This is my other thing. When we look at what we used to have in the past, when students were behind in credits, they used to go to KDBA in the summer. Are we putting that program back in?
We
Were they on
talked
the-
about that. We just talked about that yesterday. Was
Because
it yesterday?
That
And
was
yeah.
a great way to catch up freshmen and so that when they came back in the fall, and I know because of COVID, we still have a number of students that are behind.
Right.
And so we need to, I want to see some type of innovative thing with summer school where we're trying to catch these kids up. I see these dates, but I want to see the plan.
Well, this is how we start. So the first thing that I have to do is tell you when summer school is, and then Ms. Pabst and I are going to post for summer school coordinators, and then I'm very excited to tell you that we are going to have 2 new programs for our middle school and early high school students that focus on math and STEM. And they are intended to really boost students, and they're focused on algebra readiness and STEM learning. So that's one thing. And then we'll post for those positions. And then we're having our next secondary principals meeting is in one of the topics is going to be talking about bringing back the program that you talked about.
Okay.
So, but we've always had a middle school principal. It was over it. We just happened to move them up last year, and then there was just a lot of overlap because of that. So, and we couldn't have it at Northridge. We couldn't have the program at Northridge last year because of the construction. So we will have a specific middle school principal this year. The position will be posted like they always are.
One more thing. Mr. Klett, the music camp that you did, is it tied with summer school? Is it same date wide?
That camp will be, is there, and I'm sorry, I didn't say that. The camps are all going to be at Mead Park.
Okay.
So, the Mrs. Woods, the future, what is it called? Help me.
Future problem solvers?
Camp Invention and the art camp will be at Mead Park. I'm sorry, I didn't say that.
No, that's fine, because I've had some parents to ask about it already.
We haven't put the dates out yet, but we're working on, this is the beginning of all of that, and that's why we have to do it now, because this is a fun time of the year because we're finishing up the school year, we're starting to plan for summer and for next school year, all at the same time.
Okay.
That's why I look like this.
Thank you for all that information.
Yes, you're welcome.
That's enough.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Item 9. But thank you for that, seriously. Agreement between Danville Schools and Taylor Speech Therapy.
Yes. Again, Molly Bailey, Director of Special Education. And the Special Education Department is apparently the best place to be because we are booming with students. And we need some additional speech services. It has been increasingly difficult to find speech. Yes, we do have a contract agency. They cannot provide us with more additional people. And we're going to explore the option of virtual services, which is a little bit scary, but we're ready. So Taylor Speech Therapy, the contract allows for up to 10 hours per week of either direct and or indirect services, which is case management, billed at $100 per hour. So I'm recommending that we approve this contract. I did figure, I think there's 16 weeks left, which would put it at $16,000 for the remainder of the school year should she use all 10 hours per week.
Okay, look for a motion to approve this Taylor speech therapy funding.
Motion.
At $100 and up to $150 an hour.
For if we go above
If
the
we
10
go above.
hours, which we wouldn't do.
Okay, did you?
Motion, yes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Go ahead. Any of you.
Is the Taylor speech outfit, are they local? Tell us about this person or group.
Yes.
And have we worked with them before?
Yes, she's a former district employee, so she knows our processes, she knows our students, and could step right into this, and she is local to the area. It is very hard. I've spent a lot of hours on the phone and observing what other people do for virtual. I spent a good week going back and forth with a company, and then she said, I'll get you resumes, and the person could work with us from 11 to 12 each day, which is lunch times and probably not a good time to provide speech services. So it's very difficult to find someone who has someone available to you now, soon, quickly, to provide services to students.
So you're saying this is going to be virtual?
Yes.
Have we seen any virtual?
Well, we did it all during COVID. We provided virtual speech services to students the entire time through COVID. So they would get on like a Zoom session or Google Meets and provide that therapy. We would pick students that are not our most severe students, more like articulation errors or language where she could have those conversations with them. And she would work through their IEP goals with them. Also, you'd probably not pick kindergarten students. We would pick the older students who qualify.
So this is going to be done during school time?
Correct.
In a building?
Correct. Probably in the back of a speech therapist room with headphones on, or the classroom. We would work that out with the school building. Everyone's doing it all over the area. We're the last ones to jump on board. Most school districts are utilizing virtual services for psychologists, social workers, speech pathologists, because there just are not people in person.
No, I just didn't want to put any.
Yeah, not for the parents. It will be done during the school day.
That was my thing.
Yep.
Okay.
And you said this was a Danville, a local graduate, one of ours students?
She was a former employee.
An employee, okay. And where is she local now? Where does she live now?
I don't know exactly. I mean, she lives Chrisman area.
Oh, okay. So like in the area.
Yes.
It's not.
So she said if she needed to come here, she has other contracts at will, so she can't. But there are times if she needed to come here, get files, exchange things, get signatures, things like that, she could do that.
Awesome.
What do you think the likelihood is that you'll have to put someone in a teletherapy environment while also putting another district employee right next to that student? Is that going to happen often, do you think, or only occasionally? You get what I'm asking?
Yes. I would think occasionally. I think you might need to have someone get them going, get them started on the computer.
We have enough people to do that? Like, what's the title? What's that position? Who would do that in your mind?
A teaching assistant.
Teaching
So
assistant.
I would think you would try to find, we could utilize it in our cross-categorical classrooms that have 1 to 2 teaching assistants where they could kind of get that person going and then
I
move
just
back
wonder.
to their group.
So it's not the teacher having to watch what's going on, and
No.
keep this person engaged and
Correct.
teach a class full of students at the same time.
No, absolutely not. And if I think I could see the possibility of it happening in a speech therapist's office where they have a group of 2 students and then another student be on back here, so they're and it would be they'd have headphones so they wouldn't be bothering anyone. Like I said, it is new to us, but I think it will help that it is a former employee, so she knows the students. She may even be able to service some of her former students, which would be helpful as well. And like I said, I think it's our first step. Mrs. Nixon and I have been a little nervous to go this route, but there are no people in person for us to utilize at this time.
Great. So we
Well,
have.
about that too. Is that a continuous posting? If I were to
Yes.
look for a speech
For the
pathologist,
last 12 years, I think.
is it,
we looked.
is it like always? Is it on the website right now?
Yes.
It
I
always
think
is
we
up.
looked at the beginning of the school year.
Never come down. Teachers, SLPs, psychologists, social workers, they've never.
Okay.
I,
They were like that before
I
came.
think 2012 is what I could go back to when I last looked or something. I mean,
2012, because that's when we started.
when we
this
started.
system.
Okay.
But
So
they've
it may
never
even have
come
been
down.
before that.
I just wondered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have before you a motion for tailored speech therapy. We've already discussed that for $100 an hour up to 10 hours, $150 after that. Seeing no additional comments or questions, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Howard,
Yes.
Mrs. Gray,
Yes.
Dr. Clark,
Yes.
Mr. Eason,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Ashton.
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Amazing.
Thank you very much.
You said you have lots of different things.
All right, that brings us to the most important time of the meeting, informational items. If you'd like to fold that in with your superintendent comments,
Yes,
you may do so.
And in the interest of time, I'm just going to collapse it and say thank you for everyone who came and presented. Make sure you know that all of the events that are happening this weekend, and make sure you get out. Collapse that, right? And so then I have just two. I'd like to read this letter. It is from Amy Armstrong, who is the president of the Board of Education for Champaign Community School District. And it says, Dr. Geddes, good morning. This is a note regarding the 7th, 8th grade girls volleyball teams who came to Champaign Unit 4 at Edison last evening. You should know how impressive your student athletes, coaches, and fans were. I smiled as I watched the 8th graders cheer loudly and encourage the 7th grade team. They were unapologetically fierce in their play, cheering, all done with smiles and in the true spirit of sportsmanship. Listening to the team call out plays and encouraging each other in true sisterhood and competitive spirits. The coaches were also just as impressive in that they calmly yet deliberately coached their young ladies with supportive guidance. You should be so proud of the representation on the road for Danville. You and your team/families are raising strong, fierce women, and I can't wait to see what becomes of the program and your students. Keep doing the good work, friends. With deepest appreciation, Amy. I can't say, so I'm positive. Huh? And then I just want to give a shout out to the Danville High School counselors. We are all aware that that group and I have had a lot of misunderstanding for about 8 years now. They took a step with me and we sat and had conversations, just raw, brutally honest conversations without fear of the consequences, because we needed to just get an understanding. It was brutal. It lasted 3 hours, and at the end, we had such a clear understanding. There was so much miscommunication, misunderstanding, and ultimately, I think we left understanding that we were all trying to row this boat in the same direction, and we decided to get together and get in the same boat and do the same thing. The sad part was, after all of that, they were like, we you know how I go and meet the students and come down, and they so wanted to join me, but they're like, we just can't make it happen. So I said, I'll meet you one. I'll do that part of it, and then I'll send you my notes. And then we're going to have just a week where I have all of them. So everybody who told me something, I can send them, because when you say things in front of me, that's not what you said in your counselor. And so it'll be a week of the two of us that the kids will have to say those things. And so I'm just really grateful that they took a chance and said, nope. I excused the administrators. They excused Alan. And it was just me and them in that room for 2 hours. And I just really, really appreciate that kind of conversation, because ultimately we all want the same things for our kids. So kudos to you, Danville High School counselors. That's it.
Okay. Left to right, Elder Parks.
Thank you, Dr. Aston. I just want to say to those young people with the future problem solvers, they did an outstanding job. And I can't wait to see what their next step is going to be as they continue to move forward. I would say to all of us, let us continue to encourage them future problem solve. And the last thing is, I'm anxious to see more about this ancient history that's coming up. I love history, and so I'm anxious to find out what happens when you look at. I think it said something from about fall of the Roman Empire. Prior to that, yeah. So I'm excited about what's going to be taught.
I'd like to also chime in on the future problem solvers. Their basic able to recognize that we're getting a bad rap as a community. The perception about our district and about our community is where I know that we need more of us, and not just this young group, but all of us as a community to defend our community from every person that will talk to you indicating somehow that Danville is a terrible place, District 118 is a terrible place, you don't want to go there. Because it's going to take all of us opening up our mouths to family and friends and strangers that we are absolutely a community of hardworking people, of talented people, gifted people, committed people on all levels and all backgrounds, and that we must continue to support this young group as well as all of us join in with them to change our perception, the perception that people have about us, because we have lots of great opportunity for people. But I believe many of them are being persuaded before they ever even visit our city, that people are telling them, don't go there. And we need to say, come on. We need to say it. Come on. We can tell you from our own life experiences and our history that this is a safe community, no less safe than any other community of our size. We have some of the greatest people that have already succeeded through our District 118. We have success story after success story. So again, I'm just excited that this young group have already noted, wait a minute, we're getting a bad rap. And so I'm excited for what they said tonight. And I want us to continue, all of us, to do our very best to promote our city, promote our. Amen.
I got an give you an amen on that.
And then also, I will add to that, they not only recognize and speak about the problems that we have, they also offer some solutions from their young leadership. They're offering solutions, and that's so impressive. They did such a good job with the county summit, with all the county kiddos that were there, all the community people that were there, and our own Danville students who attended as participants. Made us look really good, made us look good as a district. Great comments about our buildings and how good they were, and some of the things we heard otherwise, not from Danville kids, put it all into perspective for us. So thank you guys, you really did a good job and you made us proud. One last thank you, huge thank you to all of those parents working on the Show Choir Classic this weekend. It takes an army, and there are many of them who've been working hours already, and they'll continue to work a lot of hours until 3 o'clock on Sunday morning. So thank you, parents, for your participation. I know it means a lot to us as a district. It means a whole lot to the kids. Thank you.
Let's just go down the road, Shannon.
Well, go and see the Midwest Classic. It's Friday and Saturday at the high school. I wanted to thank the FPS kids for the sticker. I've been using it because it's been a little stressful today. And then also Marita Kaiser with Southwest. I think our pre-K program at Southwest is just one of the best kept secrets in the whole district. Man, they're incredible out there, and it doesn't surprise me at all that it came from that program and from Miss Kaiser, this heartfelt desire to help each other and bringing it back to that we're really family. So thank you, Miss Kaiser, for that.
I ditto on that. I really appreciate her bringing that to us, and because we do need to support each other. And we would not know things like that if we don't have an avenue to do it. I'd also like to, again, ditto on to the Midwest Classic. I went to Prima Vista and saw the first performance. If our students are any indication of what's going to be coming in this weekend, it's a good family outing. I would like to say to parents that are listening, come and bring your younger kids, the middle school kids, and to my African American parents, please come and bring your kids because they need to see what they can do in a positive light. And we have voices. And I get discouraged when I look up at our show choirs and I don't see more of our kids. And so I'm saying to you, bring your kids out this weekend. Let them see what positive things, because this is Black History Month, the first day. The first day. Let them see what positive things going back to what our kids look like in this community. How we can have a positive impact. I am discouraged that I did not see any African American students in future problem solvers. They know the problems. We need to get our kids involved in things. What better way for them to look at our community to see what's wrong, to have some input in what goes on, and not the backlash of the negative. I agree with that young man. There's a lot of things out on social media, and some of it comes from some parents. But we need to improve that. If these students have seen it, all kids have seen it. So we need to be at the door, not behind the door. So, first day, Miss Brooks, the Divine Nine will be at your building on Friday for Black History Month, High Five Friday. If you do not know what the Divine Nine are, we are the 9 African American sorority and fraternities. Alpha Kappa Alpha, the one that I am a member of, is the oldest. We are 115 years old. This year, we will be having, and Dr. Geddes, our scholarship applications are coming out. Denver High School counselors, Mr. Bretts, we have $20,000 this year to give out between Danville, Champaign, and Savoy. Parents, $20,000.
Come on.
As we were saying, Mr. Easton, that pays for a lot of classes. And so we would like to see our students applying for those scholarships and other scholarships that are going to be coming out. But the Divine Nine will be at Northridge on Friday for High Five Friday. Well, for your birthday, too. Oh, all right, Ms. Brooks. But we will be there.
I just want to speak to our bus drivers who are probably in bed right now because they got to wake up really early, and our monitors and our mechanics. Just say out loud that we all appreciate them very much. All of us do. And your work doesn't go unnoticed. I know there's tension up here tonight, obviously. I don't know about you, but I can remember the bus drivers that I had in elementary school and middle school and high school. I had to ride the bus. My parents were not driving me. That would not happen. So those of you whose parents do, you need to do more chores tonight and tomorrow and the next day. But anyway, I can remember very fondly in elementary school when I needed to get somewhere on a field trip, when I was in a music competition, much like the Midwest Classic is this week. It's going to bring in a bunch of bus drivers. Mechanics are behind the scenes, monitors, people in the dispatch. If I wanted to go to track and field, I had to have a bus driver, a bus monitor, someone to dispatch them. Wrestling. Yeah, I was in wrestling. 119, long way from there now. Show choir, bus drivers. I was in show choir too. Gigs, performances, competitions. I just want to say, I know in Danville we have wonderful human beings who are in these jobs, and all of us in our community are very grateful for you. You have a lot of concern, professionalism, and love. I see it. My daughter tells me good things, and I don't think you know she's my daughter because I have some stories and I don't share them about things that have happened, as all of us do, in the last few years. But you give our students an opportunity. So I hope we can get rid of our bus shortage, our teaching shortage. I send my daughter on the bus. I know she's safe. And I don't think that is something we should take for granted. We have really great people, and we couldn't do what we do in school without you. So I just want to say thank you. That's all.
Thank you. 119. I was 138. Man, 119. We didn't like those guys. They were fast. Anyway, Mrs. Halloran said Pompeth represented well at the sectionals in Mattoon on was it
On Sunday.
on Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
I love the Pompeths anyway. So kudos to them. Thank you, Mrs. Halloran. Shout out to you guys. Shouted out everybody. Okay, so I don't really need to say anymore. But again, thanks to the foundation. Hope we get the bus things squared away. I think the board has sent a message about their happiness with that. So let's hopefully we will get this squared away so that we can get our business taken care of. With that, we will end the open meeting. We're going to go into closed session. So we thank you all for coming. If you thought you were going to come to the February meeting, don't, because we're not going to have it till March. So unless we have a special meeting, and we'll let you know about that. So thank you very much for coming. Go home, relax, and
John, I need you.
good. All right. Okay. Goodbye.